Hi guys, it's Izzy, and in today's video we are finally going to be doing my favourite books of 2019. I love these videos, and for so long I've watched them and looked forward to them. I look forward to the end of the year to hear about everyone's favourite books, and I'm super excited to actually be filming my own one this year. To be honest, I've been waiting like 6 months ever since I started my channel to make these videos because they're just my favourite videos to watch. I love the end of the year series, and the best books are always my favourite. I mean, I do love the worst ones just for, you know, a bit of the drama, but the best books are always my favourite, and I'm super excited to share all my favourites of 2019. These are ordered except for kind of like the top 5. They're kind of all equal except for like there is a number 1, but I have tried to order these even though I love them all, but there's a kind of order. There are going to be 15 books on this list. I did originally have 19, but I managed to narrow it down because I thought we'll be here forever otherwise, so you're welcome. I do own most of these books because they're all my favourites, and if I read a favourite from the library then I wait until it's on a deal and then I buy it. So I do own most of these, unlike the other books where I don't own any of them because I hated them all. But I don't actually own the 15th one, so we're going to start from my least favourite, but it's still a favourite, and work our way down to number 1. So at number 15 is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, and this is a book about a girl named Bree and her father who has died. It was a really up and coming rap star, and he has died, and she kind of wants to continue his legacy and kind of make sure that she has this connection to her father. And she also releases a song, and it's talking about kind of the injustices of black people and kind of how prejudiced people are to them, and how they kind of just assume so much about black people for no reason because, you know, racism. And she gets a lot of backlash from that song, even though she was kind of just pointing out the truth. And there's a lot that goes on in this book, and because Bree and her family are also living in poverty and they can't really afford electricity and food, and the kind of theme of that was, I think, done really well. And you know, kind of the way Bree looked at her life and her family and how she felt about the fact that they couldn't support themselves and stuff. Talked about grief, obviously, with her father. It talked about racism and kind of the relationship between black people and figures of authority such as police. And it also just had some amazing raps in it. Angie Thomas, I believe, used to be a slam poet, and her raps were written incredibly. She's so talented, and I just loved Bree as a character. She is hands down one of my favourite characters I've encountered this year. She's so fiery and passionate, but she's also so flawed and makes mistakes, but is well-meaning, and she just was such a vivid and lifelike character that just jumped off the page so much. And I just really loved this book. I thought it was brilliant. I liked it even more than The Hate You Give, so if you read The Hate You Give and enjoyed it, definitely pick this book up. It hasn't got as much praise as The Hate You Give, but I personally think it's better, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Coming in at number 14 is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I have the dust jacket off. I never take dust jackets off. I always have the dust jackets on my books, but I love the spine and it goes really well with my Crooked Kingdom special edition, so that's why I have the dust jacket off, and also it's just beautiful. But yes, King of Scars is a sequel to the Grecius trilogy, and it follows Nikolai, the prince. Is he a prince? he's Prince, right? I don't know what his title is, and he was a character in the Grisha trilogy, and this focuses on Nikolai and also Nina from the Six of Crows series, so you need to have read both of those series to read this book. I know it wasn't a lot of people's favourite, but I absolutely loved it. I don't want to go too much into plot because I don't want to spoil anyone if you haven't read the series, but it was just, I just loved it. I loved the characters, I loved the plot, I loved the themes. I was so engaged, and I just, like, every page I was just really captured by the writing and by what was happening, and I just thought it was really great. I mean, I am biased because I love Nina and Nikolai, but I feel like we got so much more detail about them and about like other side characters, and I just thought they were really great characters. And I do agree that it does feel a bit disjointed in that Nina and Nikolai's stories feel very different and could almost be in a separate book, but I do think that they're going to converge in the second book in the series. I believe it's just a duology, but there's no release date for the second book yet, which is tragic because I really want to read it. And yeah, I know some people, like quite a lot of people, are a bit disappointed by this book, but I loved it, so I was not disappointed. Coming in at number 13 is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan, and I love this book. I don't need to say this, obviously these are my favourite books of the year, but basically this follows our main character Lei, I think, I don't know how you say it, Lei, and basically in this world there are like 3 different class systems. The humans are at the bottom, and then like half human half demons a second, and then like full demon things are at the top of the class system. And basically the whole world is like run by this demon king, and every year he chooses 8 paper girls who are human girls to be his like concubines, and Lei is chosen to be the 9th paper girl because she has gold eyes, and she's just like this really cool cool looking person. And so this follows her as she goes to the palace and meets these other girls, and there is trigger warning for sexual assault and rape, and this kind of follows the repercussions of the assault that Lei has had, and it also follows her as she falls in love with another girl in the group, and also we get the beginnings of kind of like a rebellion plot line, and it just follows Lei as she kind of tries to find hope and persist in such a dark and difficult space, and when it feels like there's no hope, how to continue on anyways. And I think Natasha did such a brilliant job at creating a really strong and great female character who wasn't like fine all the time. Like, she had a lot of emotions, and she, you know, she was angry and she was sad and she was grieving, and yeah, she just was a fantastic character. This was a fantastic book, and I'm super excited to read the sequel. I need to get to it like ASAP. Then in 12th place is The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the first book in the series. I don't know what the series is called. Oh, the Eldest Curses. And this is a book that takes place between City of Glass and City of Fallen Angels, I believe, which is the Mortal Instrument series. I didn't particularly like the Mortal Instrument series. I haven't really ever liked anything I've read from Cassandra Clare until this book, and I got it from the library originally because it was in like the new releases sections and in like the queer section, and I was like, I mean, it's queer. Of course I'm gonna read it. Like, I don't know, I just kind of had this feeling that it might be something I enjoyed, and so I picked it up and I just like devoured it, and just I was so captivated by it. Like, I literally didn't want to put it down. Like, every free second I had, I was like holding it. I was like, give me more. I was just like reading it obsessively, and I just fell in love with it. This follows two characters from the Mortal Instruments series, Magnus and Alec, and they start a relationship in City of Glass, and then this book follows them as they travel to Paris on sort of like a let's get away from our life and like see what this relationship thing is, like see if it's a thing we want to continue with. And so we follow them to Paris, and there we find out that Magnus started a cult which he forgot about, and we deal with the repercussions of this cult that he started, and we follow them adventuring, trying to figure out what happened, what Magnus did, and how to undo it. And I just thought it was brilliant. I did not like Magnus and Alec's relationship in the Mortal Instruments. I thought it was really unhealthy. There was some biphobia. It wasn't good. I loved their relationship in the TV series, which is kind of what made me pick this book up, because I was like, I love them so much in the TV series, like I need to read this book. And I just loved their relationship so much more in this book. It was so much better than how it was done in the Mortal Instruments series. It was so much healthier. There was a lot more communication, there was a lot more trust, there was like an actual connection formed, I felt, in this book that wasn't unhealthy or toxic in any way. Like, it felt very healthy, like it's a relationship I wanted to see. And I just loved the banter between the two, the softer moments between the two of them, and we follow Magnus's like monologue, and he's just such a vibrant and wonderful character, and I just absolutely loved this book. And I was so glad to have finally found a Cassandra Clare book that I actually like, not only like, I loved, and I'm so excited for the second book. And if you haven't picked this book up, maybe because you too also found the relationship quite unhealthy in the Mortal Instruments series and don't particularly want to revisit it, I would still highly recommend reading this book, because it's just fabulous and the relationship is just done so much better. So I highly recommend it, and it was just such a fun read. Like, if you need something that's fun and adventurous and entertaining, pick this book up. It's so good. Coming in at 11th place is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. Now, this was a real surprise for me, because this is the second book in a duology, and the first book, Strange the Dreamer, I only gave 3 stars. I got it from the library, as I get everything from the library, and I had no inclination to buy it. I didn't really think I was going to continue with the second book, but then I saw it on Audible and I was like, I'll give it a go. Like, I kind of want to, you know, I like to finish series, so I just kind of wanted to see where it ended, and it just blew me away. I found Strange the Dreamer to be quite slow, quite boring, and I didn't particularly connect with the characters. However, this book just blew my mind. Like, it was insane. So this series follows our main character, Laszlo Strange, is that his name? Laszlo, we'll just call him Laszlo, and he works in a library, and he is obsessed with this city called Weep, because one day they all knew the name of this city, and then one day suddenly just everyone forgot the name of this place, and it was just replaced with the word Weep. And when that happened, no one else could enter the city, and it was kind of just like cut off. But then Laszlo is like obsessed with finding out all the secrets of this place called Weep, and then one day an entourage come from Weep and are like, we need your help, can you come back and try and save this city? But yeah, like I said, I didn't enjoy the first book that much, and if you also didn't enjoy the first book that much, if you found it kind of slow, I highly recommend picking this book up. It's incredible. There's so much more action than in the first book. Like, it's literally just constant action. We get so many beautiful like character moments. We follow two new characters who are sisters, and their journey and their relationship like literally made me like bawl. Like it touched me so much, and like this book was just out of this world. Like I can't even put it into words. It was just so good, and it really explored the theme of war and kind of the theme of villains, and how pretty much everyone in this story is the villain to someone else. And that's such an interesting concept, and it was explored so brilliantly, and the repercussions of war and kind of the longevity of the impact, like each generation is still going to be impacted even after like a war or a reign of terror is finished. And it just was explored like phenomenally, and the action was just crazy, and it was just mind-blowing. Also, this is super heavy, my arm's tired. Coming in at 10th place is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I did read all 3 books that are out currently, but An Ember in the Ashes remains my favourite, even though I did really enjoy books 2 and 3, but I just love this one the most. So this is the one we're going to talk about, and this is a fantasy series. This world is ruled by martial empire, and we follow our main character Leia as she, at the beginning of the book, her family is killed and her brother is taken for hostage purposes, or like he's like stolen because he like knows stuff or whatever. This isn't spoilers because this happens in like the first like 10 pages. And then Leia decides that to try and get her brother back, she is going to become a slave to the like, basically there's a school where they train up these soldiers for the martial empire, and so she goes there to become a slave to try and find information to get her brother back, because she loves her brother so much. And what I really liked about this book is like the motive that Leia had. Like it was so clear, and I feel like sometimes in fantasy it's kind of like people are just doing things for the sake of the plot, but like Leia had such a motive for doing what she did, and everything was driven by her love for her brother and her family, and she was scared a lot, and I liked that it focused on how fearful she was and how she still continued anyway because she knew that what she was fighting for was worth it. And I just loved her as a character, and I just loved the plot. We also follow a character called Elias, who is one of the soldiers being trained for the martial empire, and we follow him as he kind of realizes that he's on the wrong side of this war, and how to deal with the fact that kind of what you've been taught your whole life might not actually be right or like, you know, moral or anything like that. And so we follow these two characters as their stories collide, and it's just a really good fantasy series, a really great series full of action, full of shocks, full of plot twists, and I'm really excited for the 4th and final book to come out. But again, there's no release date, which is pretty tragic because I really need to know what happens. And yeah, it's just so good. Coming in at 9th place, is this 9th? I think it's 9th, is The Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan, forgot his name for a second, and this is the 4th book in the Trials of Apollo series. There's going to be 5 books total, and this series follows Apollo as he is cast down from, forget, you know, like heaven, but the Greek god version. Why can't I remember the name for this? You know what I mean. He's cast down from where the gods live, and he is forced to become a human, and he is like completely immortal, like he doesn't have any powers really, and he is told that he has to save the 5 oracles because after the war the oracles were taken over and they stopped working, and Apollo has to fix them because he's the god of prophecies, and without prophecies the world of demigods can't really run. And yeah, this is the 4th book, so I can't really talk too much about the plot, but I just loved the plot of this book. It was so focused and it was so engaging, and the characters really grew in this book, and Apollo just kept going with his character arc, and we get a lot of sorry, my brain is a bit tired today, cameos. We get a lot of cameos from some characters from the Heroes of Olympus series, which I absolutely loved. I loved seeing them again. Hazel and Frank, my boys. Not my boys, Hazel's girl, but you know what I mean. And yeah, it was just brilliant. I just loved everything about this book, and it was by far the strongest book in the series, and I'm super excited for the 5th and final installment, which I believe is coming out sometime this year, but there's not an official release date, just 2020 as of now. And this book just really blew me away, because some of the other books have been a bit lukewarm, and I was really hoping that this was just gonna like continue, because each book has gotten better and better. And yeah, this book was incredible and I absolutely loved it, and I just the whole reading experience was just great. Coming in at 8th place, I feel like I'm gonna get to like number 1 and I'm gonna have had the numbers wrong, but coming in at number 9 I think is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This book makes me cry so much. This is a book that follows our main character Henry, and he is kidnapped by aliens and is told basically in 90 days you can press this button and like blow up Earth and get rid of Earth, or you can keep Earth. And for most people that would probably be an easy answer, is don't blow up the Earth. But for Henry, he's really struggling. His boyfriend has recently committed suicide. He's really struggling with his family dynamics. He's kind of lonely and depressed and doesn't know where his place is in the world, and kind of doesn't really have anyone to lean on, and he doesn't know if the world is worth saving. And this book just came to me at exactly the right time, and I just felt so connected to Henry, and it just touched my heart like so much. It's such a beautiful book, and it's such a beautiful exploration of all these really difficult themes, and they're all navigated so well. And yeah, it's just one of those books that I think can mean more to you at a time when you needed it, and I read this at a time when I needed it, and it made me feel really comforted in a weird way, that I wasn't the only one feeling how I felt, and that there were other people who kind of got where I was coming from. And it was just a beautiful book that was just so emotional, and I just loved it, and it really did help me. And it's gonna make me cry, literally gonna make me cry if I talk about it too much. I want to reread it, but also like, do I want to put myself through that pain and emotion? Not sure. And it's not like super sci-fi, it's just like contemporary with like this little like side of sci-fi which just helps to like explore the themes in a better way, so it's great. Now this is where it really starts to get into, basically they're all amazing, but coming in at 8th place is Heartstopper Volume 1 and 2 by Alice Oseman. Alice Oseman, the love of my life. If you've been on my channel before, you'll probably know the fact that I would literally read Alice Oseman's shopping list because I think she's a genius, and I love everything I've ever read by her, and these graphic novels are no exception. This graphic novel follows Charlie and Nick as they are like sat together in one of their classes in senior school and start to become good friends, and then something more. And it is the purest, most lovely, heartwarming graphic novel to ever exist. I adore Nick and Charlie, like would die for them, they're my children. And I love all the side characters, love Tara and Darcy, and Elle? Is it Elle? I think it's Elle. And oh, I just love everybody. They're all great, and these graphic novels are just a really nice queer love story that's not tragic. This is just a really hopeful and light and beautiful first love, and I think if you're looking for something queer that actually is nice, then these are perfect. And there are a few like homophobic comments, but it's very little compared to how lovely the rest of it is. Volume 3 is coming out in February, and it is also all online, so I will leave a link down below. You can read it online for free, but I want the books because I love them, and this book is like signed and doodled by Alice Oseman and like made my life. But like you can see, like the artwork is like super cute, it's beautiful, and I just love it. Like, look at that. Genius. My next one is a little bit of a cop-out. This is coming in 6th? Yeah, I definitely messed up the numbers. I think this is, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, this is 6th. And that is just Ashley Herring Blake in general. I have read 4 Ashley Herring Blake books this year, and I have given them all 5 stars. 2 were middle grade and 2 were young adult, and I also, like Alice Oseman, would read Ashley Herring Blake's grocery list because she's like, her brain, she's such a talented writer, and like everyone should read all of these books. My personal favourite, and the one I'm gonna like give you a summary of, is How to Make a Wish, but just know that they're all amazing, and even the middle grade ones are beautiful. They all have female romances and or like female feelings. The middle grade ones are slightly light on the romantic side, but they're all just beautiful books that are written with so much care and love and affection, and they're just stunning. This book follows our main character Grace as she is kind of getting extremely frustrated with a mother who is never there for her, who is very all over the place and is never actually looking after her. And I think she's also an alcoholic as well, is she? Yeah, she drinks too much, and like they move around every time her mum finds a new boyfriend. And then a girl called Eva moves in with Grace's best friend because her mother has died, and they kind of form this bond over the different grievings of their mothers, and they start to fall in love, and it's beautiful, and it's just a stunning book. I read it so quickly because I was just so enthralled by the characters and the story and the writing, and it was just incredible. And I know most people's favourites is Girl My Age Stars, which is also amazing, but if you haven't read How to Make a Wish, I highly recommend it because I just was obsessed with this book and I could not put it down. This video is a hot mess because all I'm saying is that these books are incredible, but like we knew that's why they're in this video. They're amazing. Read everything Ashley Herring Blake's written. Her middle grade stuff is also like the most heartwarming thing ever, and one of them has a girl who's actually disabled, and I'm like, oh, love that for me. Coming in at number 4, is this 4? No, 5 is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the first book in the Dreamers trilogy, which is a follow-on from the Raven Cycle Quartet, and this book follows Ronan, who is one of the characters from the Raven Cycle, and he is a dreamer, which means he can bring objects out of his dreams and into real life. Handy trick. And he also comes across a new character called Hennessy, who can also bring things out of dreams, but she is only able to bring out copies of herself, and she can't figure out how to stop that, but it is slowly killing her. And so her and Ronan kind of team up and try to figure out why this is happening to her, and also they are being hunted as well. So it's a very complicated and intense plot, but it's like a work of pure genius because it's such an intricate plot, and it really just kept me guessing like the entire time. Like I was like, what is gonna happen next? It was just so great. I love Ronan. He's maybe my favourite character from the Raven Cycle, and I loved following him and getting to know more about his powers and his family. We did get some of his relationship with Adam, but I wanted more. Hopefully in the next 2 books we might get some more of that. But yeah, this book was just incredible. I just couldn't believe someone could write a book like this, because it just blew my mind. Coming in at number 4, but really the top 5 are basically tied for first place, but I made myself list them in order. So coming in at number 4 is Red, White and Raw Blue by Casey McQuiston. Is this on everyone's favourite book of 2019 list? Yes, because it's art. I loved it so much. This is a new adult romance that follows the first son of the President of the United States, and she is the first female president, and it also follows the Prince of Wales, and basically they kind of have an altercation that's not a great look for them publicity wise, so they're like PR teams make them hang out together to kind of be like, yeah, they're friends, like they don't hate each other, even though they do, and they start having to hang out together tragically, and as they get closer they're like romance. It's so good. It's absolutely hilarious. Casey McQuiston is such a talented writer. Like her banter is incredible, her character speech is so like natural. I mean, it is slightly witty, like people aren't that quick in real life, but like she feels very current, and like they are a young person, so like it doesn't feel like they're trying to like relate and be like cool, and it just feels really natural. And I absolutely loved the romance between Henry and Alex. Like they are such a good couple, and just the antics they get up to is just absolutely hilarious, and it was just such a fun read. It also really has quite a focus on politics, which I love, and I love books that have politics, so I love that this was kind of a romance but also like a political romance. And honestly, the last 50 pages sobbed through them, and yeah, I just think this book is incredible, and Casey McQuiston is so talented, and I believe they are writing a female romance next, so I've never been more ready. Coming in at number 3 is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I read this really early in the year, and it just stuck with me for the entirety of the year. This follows our main character Spencer, and this is a sci-fi, and basically they live on this planet underground because they are like continually attacked by aliens, and so like the most highest position you can have basically in this society is to be a pilot and go and fight these aliens. But Spencer's father was a pilot and he deserted, so he was branded a coward, and therefore Spencer was also branded a coward too. But she is determined to become a pilot, determined to prove herself, and also try and find out exactly what happened to her father and why he deserted. And this follows her as she enters flight training school, and There's so much action. Brandon Sanderson does not hold back, and he's not afraid to kill people. He's not afraid to go really hard with the action. It was just so fast. Like, this is a chunky book. Like, how long is it? Like 500 pages, and I literally read this so fast because I physically could not put it down. Like, the last like 200 pages I just read in one sitting. The plot was so engaging, and it didn't have, I guess, a lot of depth to it, but it was such an engaging book. Like, if you need something fast, action-packed, and just really something to get you out of a reading slump, you might not think a 500-page book is something to get you out of a reading slump, but I promise it absolutely will. Like, you will not be able to put this book down, and it's just so good. Also, there's like basically no romance in this book, which was great. I love some romance, but I also enjoy it when they aren't just paired with someone for no reason other than to just add romance for the sake of adding romance. So yeah, this book, impeccable. Coming in at second place is Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is one of the only ones I don't own because the paperback is ugly and I don't particularly want it because it's so ugly. And this is a fantasy series that follows our main character Sansia, and she is like a thief basically, and she is sent to the docks to steal something. She doesn't know what it is, she just knows that she'll get paid really well for it. So she goes and she steals this thing and she takes it back home, and she finds out that what it is actually a talking key, and it's super valuable. And now she is kind of stuck in the middle of this fight for this key, and this has a really intricate and cool magic system which is called scriving, which you basically like code objects to have properties that you want them to have. So you can like make wood have the properties of stone, or you can tell a wheel that it has more gravity and so that it will move faster. And the plot is so cool. Like, it's so fast paced and so wild, and there were just plot twists everywhere I looked, and it was just so much fun. It was so intricate. It was such a well-built fantasy world. It was so detailed. It was just insane. Like, I don't know how he did it with such like excellent world building, and I think there might be a female romance coming our way, fingers crossed. The second book comes out in February, so I'm super pumped for that. And finally, in the number one spot is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. In a twist of fate, a book I didn't really think much about became basically my favourite book like ever. And definitely my favourite book of the year. So this is super hard to explain, and I would just say go into it and give it a go. Also, how cool is this? It has like this like thing on the pages, and it's like such a cool cover. But basically this follows our main character Zachary, and one day he finds this book in the library that seems weird and it is weird, and he reads about this place called the Starless Sea where there's all these like secrets and it's this whole different world, and he kind of gets sucked into this mystery and is just pulled into this world of magic and fairy tales and mystery and books and solving puzzles, and it's just a work of pure genius. The plot is so intricate. Like, I have never read a book with such an intricate plot, and it was just so I couldn't even believe it reading it. So I have no idea how Erin Morgenstern was able to create this and write this. It just like took my breath away. I was obsessed. I know I've said I was obsessed with basically all of these books, but literally if I was awake and breathing, I was reading this book. And it's just insane, and it's a book that really is like, you know what, I trust you as a reader, I'm gonna let you figure this out. I'm not gonna hold your hand while you read this book. I'm gonna give you what you need to figure this out, and good luck. And it's such an intelligent book that is just, I think, written for book lovers. Like, it's just, it felt like it was written for me, which is why it's my favourite book of the year, because it literally just felt like she went inside my brain and like created something that was designed for me to love. And I was just, I literally have no words for this book because it's so good that I just can't even, like, I genuinely don't have words for how amazing this book is. Read the summary on Goodreads. If it sounds even remotely interesting to you, pick it up, because I cannot tell you how much you should read this book. Like, if you take one thing away from this video, read The Starless Sea. It belongs in a blooming museum, like, no joke. It's like that incredible. So those are all my favourite books of 2019. I'm sorry if this was a mess. I get really excited and rambly when talking about my favourite books because they just make me so happy, and I just want everyone to read them and love them as much as I did, and I just love them all so much. And please tell me down below some of your favourite books. Let me know if any of these were in your favourites of 2019. I would love to know and love to gush about them. If you want to message me about them on Twitter or on Goodreads, they're always linked down below. Follow me over there. Subscribe for more content. I would love to have you here, and I really hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was super long and I was just rambling about these incredible books. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this end of the year series. I had a really great time filming all these videos, and I'm super happy with how they've turned out, although this one might turn out a bit long. I'm very sorry. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you next time.